Hey, college football fans, this is Connor Stallions, and I'm going to explain the selection process of the 8-team college football playoff system that I am proposing. Here's the outline for the selection process. Step 1 is for the selection committee to rank the top 25. Steps 2, 3, and 4 are to select the teams. There are 3 types of entries into the playoffs: automatic bids, priority bids, and voted-in teams. Step 5 is to identify the seeding for the bracket. Step 6 is to organize the bracket, and the final step is to identify which teams host each game. This is a unique step because the first round of the playoffs are not neutral site games, so it gives a late regular season feel to the games but with playoff implications. So step 1, again, is for the selection committee to rank the top 25 just as they currently do. They don't need to worry about getting X amount of teams into the playoffs. They just need to rank the top 25 teams based on who they feel deserves a chance to compete for the national championship. This is the eye test of the system. There's little room for politics because the rest of the selection process works itself out. At the end of the day, the beauty of this whole playoff system is that the season will play itself out and decide the teams, taking all the pressure off of a group of people locked in a room until they agree upon 4 or 8 teams. Step 2 is to identify the automatic bids. Remember, there are 3 types of entries into the playoffs: automatic, priority, and voted in. Automatic bids are just that, automatic. Every Power 5 conference champion gets in the playoffs as long as they're in the top 15. And every group of 5 or independent team that is undefeated at the end of the regular season gets an automatic bid. Note that should there be 4 or more undefeated independents in group of 5 teams, the top 8 ranked automatic bids are the 8 playoff teams. So in regards to the Power 5, automatic bids add emphasis to winning your conference instead of just scheduling a bunch of cupcakes early on in order to go undefeated. So step 3 is to identify the priority bids. This step does not apply to the Power 5 conferences, so no such thing as priority bids for Power 5 teams. For the group of 5, if no one is undefeated, the highest ranked team gets a priority bid as long as they're in the top 15. The other possibility is if Notre Dame goes 11-1, they get a priority bid. Step 4 is to identify the voted-in teams. Most years, automatic and priority bids will give us 6 playoff teams, so the voted-in entries fill the last 2 playoff spots. After all the automatic and priority bids are determined, the remaining spots are filled by the highest-ranked teams according to the selection committee's top 25. This is one of 2 places where the selection committee has true authority. The second is right here, step 5, which is identifying the seeding. After we know what 8 teams are in, the selection committee simply seeds those 8 teams in the order in which they are ranked in the top 25. Once that is done, they will organize the bracket just like a traditional 1 through 8 playoff bracket, like the NBA or NHL. Remember though, these are not neutral site games, so there's a twist to deciding who hosts. It's not simply who is ranked higher. The teams who host are the higher seeds that won their conference championships. Again, this adds emphasis to winning your conference. Even though you may be ranked higher, if you didn't win your conference, you don't get to host. So I'm going to run through 2 quick examples, starting with the 2008-2009 season. This season, Oklahoma and Florida played in the national championship, while Utah and Boise State went undefeated. Remember, Utah beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, but Boise State went 12-0 with a win over Oregon in Eugene, and they didn't even get to play in a BCS Bowl. So here's what it would have been with my 8-team playoff proposal. So Virginia Tech won the ACC, but we see here that they're ranked 19th. So this takes them out of the picture because the ACC does not have a top 15 team. So this year there would have only been 4 automatic bids: Oklahoma, Penn State, USC, and Florida. So then we take a look for any undefeated group of 5 or independent teams, and we see that Utah and Boise State each earned an automatic bid. So that we only have 6 teams now, so then we move on to priority bids. Remember, priority bids do not apply to Power 5 teams. And since we already have 2 undefeated Group of 5 teams, they don't apply to Group of 5 this season. And Notre Dame does not have 1 loss, so there is no priority bid for the independents either. Shout out to Navy, roll goats. We still have 6 teams. We need to get 2 more, so now we move on to the voted-in teams. So we need 2 voted-in teams, and this year it is 3rd-ranked Texas and 4th-ranked Alabama. So now we have the 8 teams, so we have our playoff field. So here's the 2008 top 25 at the conclusion of the regular season. We have already identified the 8 playoff teams, so now we pull them out and we rank them in order, or we seed them in order in which they're ranked. These games are going to be played the Saturday after Army-Navy in the Heisman Trophy presentation. Currently, the Las Vegas Bowl and a few other bowl games that day kick off bowl season. But with this proposed 8-team college football playoff, the first round games would kick off bowl season. So there are only 4 games all day: 1 o'clock, 3:30, 6, and 8:30. So all the Ohio State fans can relax at home and binge watch college football all day, while all the Michigan fans make that short trip to Ann Arbor to see their Wolverines take on the 8 seed at 1 o'clock. Alright, I'm kidding, but not really. So, anyways, once we have our matchups, we decide which teams host. So let's head back onto our time machine to Saturday, the 17th of December, 2008. The 1 versus the 8 game is the 1 o'clock game on ESPN. Oklahoma won its conference and is the higher seed, so they get to host Boise State. The 2 versus 7 game is at 3:30 on ABC. Florida won the SEC, and they're the higher seed, so they get to host Penn State. The 3 versus 6 game is at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Texas is the higher seed, but they did not win the Big 12. Oklahoma did. So Utah, the Mountain West champions, get to host Texas in Salt Lake City. And lastly, our 4 versus 5 matchup takes place at 8:30 on ABC. Bama is the higher seed, but again, they did not win their conference either. So USC, the Pac-10 champs, host Alabama in Los Angeles. So that's what the 2008 playoffs would have looked like had they used the 18 playoff system. Undefeated Boise State and undefeated Utah, Utah who beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, they would not have even gotten a chance to compete for a championship had the current 14 playoff system been in place. So that's the beauty of this 8-team system. It gives those Cinderella teams a chance. We'll go through one more example here from the 2011-2012 season. This is also the same example used in my proposal PDF, which you can read in its entirety by clicking on the link on our website under the More tab. Anyways, in 2011, all 5 Power 5 conference champions were ranked in the top 15, which usually occurs every year. No Group of 5 or independent team went undefeated, so we stopped the automatic bids with the Power 5. So we move on to priority bids. Since no Group of 5 team went undefeated, we identify the highest ranked Group of 5 team, and that is Boise State. They're ranked in the top 15, so they're in. Notre Dame did not have 1 loss. Sorry, Irish, so you're not in. We have 6 teams now, and we need to get to 8. So we move on to the voted in teams, which this year was number 2 Alabama and number 5 Oregon. So now we have our 8 teams. We take a look back at the 2011-2012 top 25 at the end of the regular season. We've already identified the 8 playoff teams, so we pull them out, seeding them in order of rank. We set up our 4-game bracket. We fill out our matchups, and we get on to seeing which teams host what games. The first game, 1 versus 8 at 1 o'clock on ESPN. LSU won the SEC, so they do host Virginia Tech. The second game, 3:30 on ABC, 2 versus 7. Now Alabama did not win the SEC, so even though they are the higher seed, Wisconsin, the Big Ten champs, get to host that game. So sorry, Bama, you should have beaten LSU the first time around in Tuscaloosa if you wanted to host a game. Don't worry though, joke's on the rest of us. You end up walking through and winning the national championship. Anyways, the third game is 3 versus 6 at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Oklahoma State won the Big 12, so they do get to host Boise State. And lastly, Stanford, who won the Pac-10, gets to host Oregon at 8:30 on ABC. So that concludes the selection process for the proposed 8-team college football playoff. Thank you for watching. If you think it's a great idea and want to help advance this proposal, you can visit our website, www.8teamcfp.com, to read the proposal in its entirety, contribute, donate, see the other videos, or more. You can also follow us on Twitter at 8teamcfp. That's the number 8 followed by Team CFP. And yeah, that's it. That concludes it. Thank you very much. Good luck to you and your team the remainder of the season, unless you like Army. Bye.